All all praises to our Creator, our Most High. Hallelujah. Another day, another day, the manifestation of our Creator. The sun has risen. Hallelujah. For those who've been following me closely, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been covering this in reference to Akhenaten, the vindication of Akhenaten, which his name as a pharaoh in the earlier years of him being a pharaoh was named after his father, which his father was the third, Amotep the third, and he was the fourth. And a lot of you may know him through King Tut, being that what was given to us, that King Tut is his son. But more and more will come out as it all unveiled. So I wanted to come back on, and I didn't look at this in the beginning as being a series or as just just different, or many different videos, but I'm going to move towards the cosmic order. So that's what I'm going to actually what you see in the heading about the vindication, because this is all linked back to Akhenaten. Okay, so I'm just going to do a segment of this, and this is basically pertaining to just me going on GP GPT chat, a chat GPT, and putting questions in, and what the lineup is that it's supposed to gather the information from the web and then bring it to the forefront. And so it's very interesting. So one of the questions that I presented was, the kings were selected by God. And I have been saying this for many, many years, knowing my lineup and how things were shown to me. And I'm just going to touch on this. And there are much more that, as I go through and I, whatever surface and pop up, I present the question and then what is given to me. Okay. And it's very interesting, fam. So this, could be, which I went in, and the look into the information could maybe consider out of order, because there is many things I've asked. But what I'm going to do, let me do this right quick. Um, so it may appear that that I'm jumping around from time to time. So this segment, I'm just going to do this and then come back on, because, there are different lead ways to our lineup. And see, this is to actually move us out of the lineup of, helping us to move further around our wheel. And what I've shared yesterday, of those who been on, or if you haven't had a chance, watch the video that I shared from yesterday and what it touched on. And it, very, very powerful. Okay, so kings were selected by God. Okay. The idea that the kings were selected by God, often referred to as the divine right of kings, is a concept that appears in many cultures and religious systems throughout history. It served as both a spiritual and justification of the monarchy, and a powerful tool for political control. Here's how it developed and played out across regions. So it going to take us to where it used to be, and then what is now. And it's corrupt now. It's literally corrupt now. That's why that is in place of different things. So the point of the matter is, I did ask a question, and I'm not sure if it's in this segment, but about the pheomelanin ruling the earth, and they are just so disconnected because of it. Actually points back to our biological makeup. It points back to who and what, far as our biological makeup, and how we were so like not deviate far from the originals. Okay, the originals that was placed here first, they received the truth. They were in the truth, and it fell under the ma'at, the lineup of the 42 confessions, I want to say, of ma'at, by, the guidelines were, and how they connect with the universe was by divine order through being a morally person. You had morals, and through that 42 confessions that guide you to keep you in the track of maintaining the moral lineup. Okay, which what was presented to me was justice, meek, and righteous. Okay, so that was presented to me. So let's go ahead and check into this. Okay, so Africa and divine kingship. In many African cultures, kings were seen as chosen by God, okay, or even as divine themselves. Ancient Egypt, pharaohs were considered gods on earth, often seen as direct descendants of the sun god Ra. And that is absolutely what has been shown to me and provided to me. All right. And says, Kingdom of Kush, in the Yoruba kingdoms, and Zulu kings also viewed rulers as spiritual chosen, are guided. And I have an account from a king out of South Africa who said that as well, that he knows that he's in direct line of our creator, and he get guidance from our creator. He just came back on the throne because it was a line that was cut due to colonization, and he was chosen to be the one in the seat as of now. And they were able to maintain their lineage. The names of the previous kings is because those who stayed in Africa that weren't enslaved and brought to different many parts of the earth, they stayed on the grounds where they kept their language, basically, even though they spoke the language of the colonizers, but they kept that intact, and some kept the practices of ancient time. And also, so this king was able to, I want to say, I saw at least about 10 or 12 kings before him that was already, they documented and all that. And where he came in at by, once I heard he said that he had a dream, and it was provided to him that he was the king. And another lineup I heard when he also added that something was going on, that he received a message or either had a dream, and he went before the elders, like I've said, and it was actually connected that he was the next king in line of his lineage. So, but he says that every day he wakes up, he seeks the Most High for what he's supposed to do, and even down to where he dress. And this has been within the last 3 years that I heard him said this. So I know exactly what he's talking about. I know that the kings are chosen by our creator. Queens are, that royal lineage is chosen because all what that is that they are messengers by the Most High. There are ones that Father speaks directly to. Not saying Father can't speak to any and everybody else, but I'm just saying, okay, I've given my lineup since I was 8, how I was chosen out of my household. And my aunt was who was well, she was the one that was in line, and I didn't find this out until I was 13. She had died the month before. And I mean, I didn't really know all the details that I know now, but she died the month before, and before I saw it in an open vision, her and 8 other Black women. And I didn't know the other 8 women, but I knew the 9th one, which was my mom. I'm sorry, my dad's sister. So she was chosen, and I was told to mimic myself after her when I was about 22. And I didn't know that why that was in that fullness. I saw it when I was 13, but I was told to mimic myself after her. She was spiritual, and that she was she was, pretty much set apart, and holy. That's what set apart is. So my life was governed accordingly. So everything that I'm sharing with you, and I have shared, it is not to look at a royal status as we look at it today, as it being perverted. It's very perverted, coming out of Great Britain. So all these people that are ruling like the earth, the Jewish people that claim that they are the chosen, the ones in Great Britain that claim that they are the true royal house, even saying that King Charles went to was Canada yesterday and did this spill, even down to the Pope. Now the new Pope, he has Black lineage as far as ties back. That's another topic for another day, but it is something that we're going to understand even more, down to those who controlling America and Europe at this point. All of these people are melanin people, and the father is from the truth. Their fathers from, not fathers, but they fatheress. And I'm saying it right. I can't talk right. Y'all get me. The truth is so further from them. That's why I should say further is from the truth. Yeah. But we're gonna come to all of this, okay? So let's continue. So when it comes to the biblical tradition in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, kings like Saul, David, Solomon were said to be anointed by God, usually through a prophet, right? The word Messiah means anointed one. And remember these names here in the Bible, David, Solomon, and Saul, there are biblical characters. There were real people with real name that when they added this in the Bible, they pointed to those real people outside the Bible. Because if you would go to look for these graves, David, Solomon, and Saul, you're not going to find them. Let's continue. The word Messiah means anointed one. So when you hear this thing about our Messiah, Jesus, that all it's saying is an anointed one. And an anointed one is Father put his anointed upon whoever Father chooses to put his anointing on. And it points back to the kings, the queens, because there are some queens are chosen to be over a lineage. And I don't know all the ins and outs. Just to give this to you all, I want to say Ashanti, it followed by the when the husband and wife is the lineage follows the wife. All right. So that will not make sense to a lot of our people in the world today, because we've been taught that everything follows the husband, the seed of the husband. That's not true in a lot of cases, but this is what we have here. But we can't lose track or sight that the whole thing surrounding the kings and queens, the royal house or whatnot, it points back to ones being before the Most High's people. You understand? And they have to be appointed and anointed. Okay? All right. So it goes on to say here that the tradition influenced Christianity in Islam. So it more so like, oh, well, ones are anointed, when they point towards Jesus Christ, and it points towards, the line of Islam. Okay. So European divine right, and this is another part to it. It says by the Middle Ages. Now you have to understand, all of this came into play when the shift came in Europe is during the Middle Ages, or the Renaissance period. European kings claimed they were chosen by God to rule and to oppose them was to oppose God's will. So they knew that it was significant that ones in Africa and ones before them that were in Europe before the field melanin came into the lineup, right? And did all what they did to overthrow the thrones. They knew that it was a tie back to our creator. But we're going to find out that as this unfold, one started changing up on the lineup because it was not that the Most High in that lineup had favor on them to do the right thing. They were all about things that they're still about today, all the way going back to the 1500s. Okay, so it says the concept reached a peak in the different monarchs in like France, England, and Russia. Example, King Louis I want to say the 16th of France said, and he spoke this in French, asserting absolutely divine authority. So in that timeline, I mean, that's what my lineage point back to his lineage as well. And I've shared this with you all. So in that timeline, for them to overthrow, because he was a black king, right? And then they whitewashed it and made him white. He was a black king. And to understand, as I shared last night, how the biological makeup, how we are so close to the originals and all that was given to us in the attributes, that where we was in divine order unto our creator. And those who came much later with a different genome, they didn't have that relationship, and they sidetrack, off track how this whole thing actually has been working, and we have been spinning out of control. So it is getting to a point where in another segment I may share how it's going to be pulled back, and they're thinking it's going to be done by war, like with their guns and bombs and nuclear capabilities. But there's an order that will come, that is coming upon this earth, that is going to change up the dynamic, and they have no say so. None of what they have is going to matter as it unfolds. Okay. So it goes on to say here that the divine right serve two key purposes: spiritual, which is position the king as a mediator between God and the people, and then political, right? And this was their whole lineup: discourage rebellion by making opposition a sin as well as a crime. So when they came in, they brought forth the political aspect of it, and they tried to point to the spiritual aspect of it. In the Capitol today, every morning they go in, they pray. Do they pray? I know they pledge allegiance to the flag, but yeah, they pray. They bring in this. Well, right now, the last time I know was a black man that he's been appointed to do that, and they said it's prayer to try to bring in this, like they are really practicing divine order of our creator. No, they're not, because they have a one-track mind, and that one-track mind is to maintain power, and through that manifests the greediness and all that. Okay. So this belief was rarely questioned until, so those who actually came in the 17th and 18th century, so that would make it like the 1600s and the 1700s, when they start looking at, we're not going to talk about this as a spiritual thing, that God is at the forefront. What we're going to do, they argue that power should come from people, not divine appointment. So in that era, that time, it changed when they start moving towards, in a sense, they do it like right now. When you see, if you watch, when they come to session in the Capitol, when they be in that set with that room, whatever it's called, you'll see where they would pray, then they'll come back and turn around and pledge allegiance to the flag and whatever, and then go about their day with a bunch of nothings, really. You understand? Just to set the narrative as though they are still. But it was 3 men that actually brought this to the forefront. And the first one was Lockie, and the other one was is Rosera U or something, and Voltaire. I'm going to share this on my posts under this page. A lot of things, and I might be able to share it in this video because it's not that much, but if it's over 5,000 characters, it did allow me to share it on the post. Like if you all go to the post, I shared the one last night, and it has everything basically I covered. Okay. And so the colonial and religious, when they manipulate the system, it says when Europe colonized Africa, Asia, and the Americas, they often replace or co-opt indigenous kings and spiritual leaders using Christianity and the Bible to justify obedience to the colonial rules. Did y'all hear that? So whenever they came in with manipulation, they brought in the Bible. They brought in the Jesus Christ storyline. So as them doing that, they were able to offset the king that was there. And they have here that sometimes they install puppet kings under the pretense that they too were chosen by God. And this is where they would misuse of divine kingship. And they're still doing that today. They bring in puppets, but they're not talking that, oh, it's divine by divine order. But we have to go back to that lineup, how they started this. It started off spiritual, where it was by divine order, and these kings and ones were appointed by our Creator, right? And even though what I'm saying, a lot of you may not get it, because you may say, well, how we fell. And I shared a bit of it last night, how we fell, because we fell away from the principles of the Ma'at, which of being of moral values. We followed people who did not have moral values. Okay. But by the time, over a period of time, by the time they came in and did, all what they did, we were already at a place. And over the years, it just fell down in generation how we got so weak and to our truth, and we just fell and fell and fell. So it says today's legacy, while few modern what would call the monarchs still claim divine right, their association between leadership and the divine favor persists. It goes through like the politicians invoking God, will, or blessing, pop culture still portraying kings as chosen ones, right? So when you look at the seat over in Great Britain right now, for those who don't know, that seat in Great Britain where King Charles, they actually see what they did, the appointed, the pheomelanin people, they all took a part of the lineup. Like the popes originally were black, right? Then they just started inputting just white people, right? The kings and queens of the earth was black, and then they start putting white people, and they went back in history and whitewash and made it seem like all of them were white, and so wherever you see them at ruling the earth and doing whatnot, and remember, this is just layers, right? This is just a surface, because there are pheomelanin people who ruling stuff that you would never know. There are certain families that you would never ever see on the street, and if you see them, you wouldn't know who they are. So they call in the shots, right? And so when you see the King Charles, right, his stand in right now, which Queen Elizabeth and so forth, that and the other, how they were how they got the throne, you have to go back to King James Stewart, and you'll see how the throne was overthrown in the 1600s, and his son or either nephew was the last black ruling king of Great Britain, Ireland, and Scotland. So you would know that as they what they call ruling, like you would see Queen Elizabeth, you said they go into the hospital to visit the sick, or they go into some type of drive, or they call their duties. That's why what's his name, Meghan Markle husband, like, really, what is this? Is nothing divine by our creator. This is all surface stuff that has been put in place as though they're doing something. You see them going to church on Sundays. Really? What message did our creator gave the queen to give to us? She was ruling since she was what, in her teens or either 20s, early 20s? And she passed at what, 96 or something? What message did the Most High ever gave her or given to King Charles now? It could come a time that they're going to come and try to fluff it as they see how the earth is moving. And if anyone, my information that I have on YouTube, okay, under Yah Royal Family, my videos are entwined with their videos. Even though I don't have a big base, like what one may call it. But if they ever go through to look up things about them, they're going to see videos of mine. And they got to know that their time is coming very short to end. They got to know this. I'm real deal. I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to toot my horns. Father has his ways, how Father's going to do things. And it's not my fight to go to England or wherever and say, remove yourself from this seat. That is not my fight. Father's going to do everything supernaturally. Everything. So it's in due time. It's all in due time. And if people, trying to put forth and say, oh, it's about ones want the glam and the clout. No, I want the best for all mankind on this earth who has, who, regardless if what color that they are, I want the best. I want everyone to know our creator as we should. I want the best fairness, equalness of towards all mankind. You understand? It has nothing to do with money, clout, or glam. And when Father have chosen you to do something, your whole point is that, it's a difference where you might say, oh, I desire it. Like, there are ones in my family, they don't know the fullness of really what this is. Some of them may look at things I put out from afar and just don't say anything. I've shared with them a little bit about when I came into the information about when I was able to link back the haplo type or group back to, the Pharaohs, and also ones from Europe, the kings. And, I just shared a little bit with them. None seem or care to be interested. You understand? And in sharing, they just say if they ever came to a place and they say, well, we just say that Father, have me to whereas I'm in a status that the world will look at me as a queen, whatnot. And then they come and say, well, what about us? We have the same lineage too. Well, all this time that I've been saying that I've been chosen to, be secluded and all these different things, to me, they have, like, I wouldn't say look down on it, but it was a manner of not trying to understand why. To me, you understand. And so when Father separated me, and I've shared the testimony about that, how I was separated from them. It's going on now on almost 4 years. I still talk with them from time to time, but in the midst of them being in my midst, Father has removed me from that lineup. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, you're welcome to go back in previous videos. Are you welcome to go, seek for yourself and understand that Father will separate you. It could be from your family. It could be from, friends, whatnot. You still love them. You still, see them. And when Father put ones in my path that I know where I used to work at, it's all good. We speak, we talk. But this timeline right now, I'm supposed to just be before the Most High. And really the only ones that really supposed to be in my presence at this point is my daughters. That's it. That's it, But it just really interesting. And I'm not saying that my family is greedy and they want, they may be looking at it from that angle, like the perverted way, like, oh, well, she's going to be rich. Oh my goodness. And that's our name too. This is our name. And why I can't be? No, I was chosen, and it goes back. And I'm not saying this for a pat on my back or for clout. I was chosen since I was 8. They saw something different in me. They made funny jokes about it to whatever degree, and I laughed with them because I didn't understand it a lot either. But it's all about the Most High choosing who Father wants to choose. Because many will say, oh, well, what's so special about you? I'm God's child too. Just hear me out. And I never believe I said it from a place that I was better. I was saying it from a place that I was trying to understand things too, and saying why I'm being shown all these things. Are y'all being shown these things? And why I share all these things. If y'all been given things, why y'all not sharing it? I said it'd be like fire in me that I have to release it. Are you all put in that lineup? No. Okay, then. So that's why I'm doing these things that I'm doing, because for the longest, they couldn't understand why the separation was, in a sense, But it is the truth. Because those who know, I was, family, want to be around them and do all these things, right? Even though I live far away from them. But live, good distance from them. But at the end of the day, fam, it is all about the Most High and what Father have chose, and it's just not me, it's many others. If we go back to the kingdom, it's going to be many kingdoms of many kings, but you will be appointed by the Most High. There ain't going to be nobody voting you in. And you supposed to carry out as the Most High have led you to do. Every day you wake up, it's for unto our Creator the direction of what you need to be doing. Unto our Creator, unto the Most High's people. So it goes just that deep. And please don't take my words as I'm boasting or bragging, because this path, what I said and said, I have dedicated and I have devoted my life to this according to what has been shown to me, according to what has been prophesied to me. You understand? So it is not about, I don't want to bless no one else or be, you know what I'm saying? It's about that we must know that this lineup, which is explaining here, these people that came in much later, they came and perverted the whole lineup, having the world to think that what you see is that's what that is, and it's not. For them to even accuse our pharaohs or our people in Africa of marrying their own daughters, or marrying their own or sleeping with their own sons, as they put Noah and Ham, together, or just giving bunch of crap. We and the whole thing of it is like when I said that we fell from grace, some people might say, well, we had to do something really, really horrible. But it's just as simple, by you not being just to someone else, by you not being righteous, by doing the right thing, you understand? That goes against our Almighty. By you lying, by you stealing, that goes against, you understand? So those simple stuff that you may call simple, you may say, well, it's simple, but it's actually that tears you away from your heart being light as a feather. So this stuff that they came in, they saw two pharaohs side by side, they're going to write it up. They have no clue. They're going to write it up and say, oh, these two pharaohs were gay. We see the different dances and stuff, the cultural stuff that is in Africa, when they have on the different type of what we will call masks, or, different outfits, or their face painted, not painted, but it's white chalk or whatever is on it and whatnot. And people have looked down and say, oh, they need to be civilized. No, it's sacred. See, it's sacredness. Because they did not understand. And then they came and wrote all these books, and all the philosophers and all these people that happened to be female and that had no clue. None whatsoever. And they wrote all this stuff. And the world began to like, oh, well, this is how they play down. This is surface just about going, this is out of pocket, but it's surface. I saw a video the other day about someone said this white lady is wanting to start and say about a race war, and talking about how black people don't know how to shoot and hold a gun. We don't know anything how to defend ourselves. We already lost. That's what this basically, in so many ways, this white lady is saying. I don't know her name. I don't have a video for you to reference back to. You may have seen, whatnot, because a lot of people be, snitching stuff and putting things together. And what they fail to realize, that is the ego that is in her and ones like her, right? That they don't have a clue what they up against. They think they up against us. They up against the Most High. It's already say they will lose. It's really, really beyond in so many ways for ones to really think that way. I saw a little snippet of it, and I was like, wow. One brother said something that was in that, and speaking from a human place, he said, they don't want to do that. We have 400 years plus basically a pent up anger or whatnot in us, thinking that their guns and their whatever is going to hold us back. And this is what he's saying from that lineup, from our attributes from earthly lineup. But I'm talking about the spiritual realm, because when it points back that this is a spiritual warfare, that they looking at it to be a physical one. They don't have a clue. So if I had a chance to talk to her, I would be like, honey, you don't have a clue. You thinking that you all may be sitting in the corners. There are times I pass by certain places right here where I live, and on Sunday, it ain't a church. It's places that cars, like 50, 60, 80 cars out, right? And I'm like, well, what's going on here? Then it's like, I said, I wonder if this is a what? Like a KKK meeting, right? I don't know. I'm like, what's going on over here? You see them coming out or whatever. You're like, well, what's going on? They can sit and plan all they want. They're planning because their ones are planning. And as I cover some more things from, not from this segment per se, it's going to manifest that it's going to say, oh, white people is not in that lineup. White people already, even the ones who have the ego, their children already start deviating from them, saying, nah, I've learned the truth, because they are awakening as well. So they losing grounds with some of them who in this power lineup, right? You imagine Donald Trump wake up one day and Barron comes to him. I'm just saying, Barron comes to him and said, Dad, I am going on social media. I'm going to let it rip. I'm not for what you're doing, and I'm against it. I know what this is. I had a visitation. Donald Trump probably would be like, no, son, hold up, lock, close the door, don't let him out. That kind of thing. I don't know. But anyway, but a lot of them, it's said that a lot of their children is falling away from the path that they want them on. They're like, no, this ain't right. I didn't came to find out what the black people actually have been through on this earth. And what you told me is not the truth. Like when the white guy went to heaven and near death experience, and nobody up there was nothing but black folks. Yeah. This is what he said. And he asked his dad when he came to, he said, Father, why you told me that black people wasn't going to go to heaven? He said, that's all was up there. I'm just saying that's what was shown to him. He said that nothing but black folks was up there. That's what he said. And his dad was trying to tell him to shut up. So that was in the Snoop. I don't know if y'all ever heard this news article or whatever called Snoop, or this website. And a lot of things be on there that is truth, but they make it seem like, that's just conspiracy, whatnot. But yeah, fam. So we're going to come to understand why. And there's a question I did ask Chat GPT, and it explained it to whereas as I have thought of it, but it just, the way they worded it was so profound. So let's see what else I have. Let me get off of here. So then it goes on to say that that yes, the idea that kings were selected by God is the ancient, powerful, and globally widespread. It reflects a time when spiritual authority and political powers were deeply intertwined, especially in the African and early human lineup. But it also became a tool of control later used to oppress, colonize, and legitimize unequal systems. Yeah, so that is what happened. They it was all about Father choosing. It wasn't them, and our ancestors knew this. And I've shared this with you all time and time again. And I don't know so much. They have different movies out there now under the Nollywood. Maybe they might have the same writers and the authors for all of them because it's Nollywood. No, I think they have different ones. Like, they will shoot videos, come up with a strip, and then they will get the actors, and then, they will act it out. But the ones that goes back to the villages where the king and the queens, they over the village. And a lot of times you will come across the kings and queens got this air about them. Like they perverted in a lot of ways in those movies. But when you look at the principles, the lineup, how a king is chosen, and they give the lineup on what they're looking for, the elders, and then the spiritualist stays on track due to what the Most High have called our ancestors, and understanding how that works. Yeah. But there are some kings and queens who they treat, their workers mean, and that's a part of the acting world, entertainment, but look for the signs of um, how kings were chosen, how they had visitations, and how they had dreams. Even the wife of a king was chosen, right? It wasn't just, oh, I want her because she is another from another royal house, you know, and our family could get together and do wonders, politically, or in that lineup as far as making money. Then no. There were kings, there were queens chosen for the king. You understand? Like, and I have to say, because it surfaced, like what Father told me about the person I met that I thought that he was the one. I had a dream years back, and it felt like I was in Africa. And this was early on. It felt like I was in Africa, and me and this man, right? Not the one that I met, right? Me and this man was walking in this house, and this was in a dream. And I had like something in my hand to give. It was like a dish of food or something, and taking something too, because that's what one of the traditions, bringing something to the house. And so I had it in my hand. So as we walked in the door, we walked in the area where around the corner that would remind me something like the kitchen was his father and someone else, another male was sitting up, but I never saw his mother. And we passed the dish over to them. And so as he began to turn to go into this room, like where there was a lot of chairs around the wall, around the wall. And it wasn't anything like fancy, but I just remember the chairs were around the wall. It wasn't like a chair that had where a living room chair like we would see today. It was chairs that were around the wall. So as we stood there, a person came up this hallway, had papers in his hand, and he started reading the itinerary for um, the person who I was with, what he needed to do for that day. And so I was standing right beside him, and he was taking so long because he was going through all the stuff he needed to do. So I was new to the lineup. I didn't know much, right, about what that was. And so when this person was before us reading off this itinerary, because now I want to say I was his wife and I was with him. I kind of just, a chair was behind me, and I just kind of backed up and sat down. And so when I sat down, the person who was reading, because at this point now I'm sitting behind my husband, right? The person who was reading that was in front of us did like this, like looked around him to look at me, and then gave me this look. And then my husband gave me a look too, like, what you just, no, you supposed to stand it up. And so I stood up, and I'll remember saying to him, oh, I'm so sorry. I was out of order. That's what I said. And then the dream ended. Okay. So I remember waking up from that dream and going on social media and making this video like, oh, I met my prince. I met my prince, because that's what the feel of it was, the lineup was. And this was early on in my awakening. Where I'm at now is further, so much more have been revealed to me. All right. So as I'm on social media, and I'm all excited because I'm like, okay, Father is lining things up that, I'm going to meet a prince. That's because I connect the dots, that's why I always call myself princess. But anyway, so as it unfolds, moved out here, and I didn't know that this guy was, watching me. I didn't know. But the way it happened was, and this was probably 3-4 years after the dream. But anyway, the way it happened was, I was receiving something for the car surrounding the tire. And they took it to the area where we would go pick up, like the mail room area. So when I got out the car and walked in, I remember seeing two men that was across the way. The person who literally worked here, he was facing me. Well, I could see him, and I knew him, and he looked like he was Hispanic or something. So I remember, I knew him. And then there was a black man that's standing in front of him, and they were just having a conversation. But anyway, I walked into the area, and as I walked in, the box that I'm supposed to be lifting, I couldn't even move it with a foot. It was just that heavy. I couldn't even slide it. I couldn't do anything. I said, oh no, oh no. How am I gonna get this thing in my car? Because I need to take it to my mechanic. All right, so then I walked out the door. And as soon as I walked out the door, I saw the two men still there. So I said, well, I'm gonna go ask one of them to help me. And so as I started to walk up, maybe 20 steps behind them, or the Hispanic guy was facing where he could see me walking up, but he was already getting ready to leave anyway. So as I got closer to them, by this time the Hispanic guy already walked away. But then this guy turns around and looked directly in my face. And I said, oh, I said, hello. I said, I need to move this thing out the mailroom. I said, it's too heavy for me. He said, oh, I'll help you. So we started walking, going back, and I wasn't attracted to him. I wasn't even looking at him like that because I was still in my seclusion mode. For those who don't know, the celibacy and all this stuff, far as, that lineup went all the way back, probably 6 years before that, 6 years, before that, and so I wasn't even looking at men like that. I didn't even see men, in that line. I didn't see none of, nothing. So as we walk in, and then I detected he had an accent. And I said, I hear you have an accent, as we were talking. He said, yeah. He said, I'm from Ghana. I said, okay. And so we just, went talking, he went, and when he went into the room, it like he didn't have to think about it. He just picked the thing up like with one arm. I said, what the world? I was shocked. I looked, I said, did he just pick that up? He picked it up. And so my car was a little further down the way. And I said, oh, I'll drive my car here so you can bring. He said, oh, no, I got it. He picked it up, put it in the back of the trunk and everything. I said, oh, thank you. And we talked a little bit more, and I gave him this page, right, information. And I was telling him, about, everything and all that. So by this point in time, he gave me one of his names because he had many names, right? I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, so then, we didn't exchange numbers or anything like that, but I am just a free spirit person. I'm just very friendly. I'm just that type of person that I just talk with any and everybody. And if I, need to share, feel led to share stuff, I'll just share it, And so I just talking to him and whatnot, and he was taking it all in. And I did not know that he was doing part-time working out here with the mechanic. With the maintenance crew, because the guy that he was talking to was a maintenance person that do painting when people move out of apartments. I didn't know that, but I remember seeing him kind of like, looking a little bit, but he was he was giving me his full attention, but I just sensed something that in a way that he needs to go and whatnot. So anyway, he went his way. And so that was that. So then the next morning I woke up, I'm walking out the apartment, the same maintenance guy with, truck. And then he's right there with this guy, because I didn't know they were working together. And so as I'm standing, walking up, I said, hey, how you doing? He's like, hi. So then that's when we started talking a little bit more. And he said, well, I came here in the area because earlier to see if you needed help taking the part out of the car. I said, oh no. I said, I took it to my mechanic and they took it out. He said, okay. And so then we end up exchanging numbers. He asked for my number. We exchanged numbers. All right. Still doesn't see anything, with it, whatnot. So then I want to say maybe a day or two later, he like, well, let's meet at the pool area. Let's just have a conversation. Da 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 da. So we met, and I was just telling him all, my story, my history, And so he gave me his name, and in front of his name was Nana. So that lines up with a prince, a royal lineup. So he explained it to me, and I said, is this the guy? Is this the one I had the dream about? So I took it on, fam. I said, Tata, is this the guy or not? Nothing, honey. So anyway, we started getting closer and everything. And he just explained that because the chiefs, they moved from being a king down to a chief, right? And if those who know the storyline of Africa, a chief is the lineup of a king. And so he was telling me how he was next in line, and how, everything was all, as far as his father, and all that. So I was just tied into that dream I had, and da 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 da. So about a month in, fam, we walking around the area, swinging hands, holding hands, walking this place, going out to this place, going to the park and all this stuff. And he came here, and he's very successful. He's still here. He end up coming here. He works for this company, and then he was just helping out maintenance for, just doing extra stuff. But he really, to this day, he's doing very well, very well. Anyway, family, as the time, I know I'm taking a long time, I need to go. As the time prevailed, Father allowed, I'm just da 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 da. You just in that moment, because the first time I remember him touching my hand, I said, did he just touch my hand? I said, a man touched my hand. Oh my gosh. It just like, wow, a man, did you touch me? Because fam, I've been away from like men for almost, at that point, close to 6 or 7 months. I mean, years. Well, anyway, so fam, one Saturday, one Saturday I'm driving down the road, and at this point in time, I saw some signs, like, I was like, because things were moving a little fast, right? But anyway, as I'm driving down the road, normally when I get these opening, like when I'm getting a message from our creator, I get this like an opening, like a moment of just clarity, just me and the Most High. So now I'm in the car and I'm driving, and this opening came, and a message coming. And what I received was, Father called his name, and said, he is not the one. I said, what? Fam, right there when he said, a teardrop just came down my face. I said, what? I said, Father, he not the one. How so? You mean he not the one yet? Father ain't said no more. So I went to him and I told him, I said, Tata, Father said, you are not the one. He said, but I am. I said, no. I said, Father said, you're not the one. And we're going to have to, hey, let this go. He's like, no, but I'm praying. I have a praying team, and we're going to pray this thing through. We're going to pray. And so he had, like intuition and different things like that he would, because his mom was sick one time, and the symptoms that she felt he was having it. And he called, and they said, yeah, we just, she in the hospital, da 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 da. So certain things was happening surrounding him around that. But Father said he wasn't the one, right? And it took about a good almost maybe 6 months because he still had access to me. He still knew where I lived. He still had my number. I would still see him out and about. I was like, Father, I said, mean to tell me you could not like just move him, just take him completely out of my pathway. Why he's still in my path? Why he still got access to me? And so it was hard. It was hard. It was very hard, knowing that I was not attractive. I didn't see him like that in the beginning. And then all of a sudden, now, of course, when my eyes open, I was like, okay. Father said he's not the one. And I struggled. And that was the only thing that I ever basically went on with and not stopped for a bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything else, when Father said this or did this or showed me this, I just, but it was so hard. I struggled, fam, for a great bit. And so after it got to a point where it went from 1 month to 2 months to 3 months, I did not see him. And Father's like moved him. But then when I would do deliveries after he moved, because he ended up moving from out here and moving to someplace else. And where I was doing deliveries and deliver right to the same house, right? Because at this point he already moved from that house to a different place, right? And so I'm like, Father, this is the address where he used to live. Father, all this was coming forth. Then to an apartment where he lived, he still lived today. Father would take me right there, like a door down from his apartment door. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I said, Father, really? I said, what is this? So then he still have, access to come into the area. He came and knocked on my doors many times. He said, Father had it fixed where I did not hear the knock, whatnot. And then I would go in certain areas, like, because he still knew people out here. And they would be detailing, detailing his cars. And I will walk right at the same time he's out here. I will walk right there, and he's there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So then what I said to him, I said, and which I came to understand, many men I've met, it wasn't for us to have a link or a connection, which was, um, like a boyfriend girlfriend thing. It was that I had a message for them, and that was it. But not knowing, in so many ways, it's like, oh, we meant to be together. This, that, and other. So anyway, so after about 4 months, I want to say, not seeing him and whatnot, there was a song, because the last time we, were together, he was singing the song, which was of an Afrobeat artist, and I didn't know he could sing. And I said, you could sing. He said, yeah, I could sing. And so that same song came on. And I'm just in this, in the apartment. And as soon as the song came on, my thought went to him. And then immediately when my thought went to him, it didn't go no further, right? But as soon as the thought went to him, Tata spoke to me just that quick. And Father said his name again and said, he is not fit to be a king. So even if I was chosen to be a queen, he could not be the king. You understand? He's not fit to be a king. And that just took me further into the lineup to understand, honey, you got to let this go, in which I was really in a better place anyway. But you imagine that my lifestyle was, before I even came into the awakening, Father was really preparing me, because there was 2 years before that I was celibate, right? 2 years before that I was celibate, because I was dating someone from Atlanta, Georgia. And after him, I was celibate, right? And so I was 2 years, and then I went into my seclusion all that time, right? And so I was like, Father, what does this mean? Because in that same mode, in that same timeline, when I met him, the one out here, when I met him, 2 weeks later, me and my first boyfriend that Father showed me in a vision, we reconnected in the sense of just catching up. And so by, me meeting the one from here, that one that I had that, came back into my lineup since we were like in our teens. Father showed me him in a open vision when I was 11, 12, and he became my boyfriend when I was 15. But he was my first boyfriend for about 4 or 5 years. And it could mean down the road that he could be my closeout. I don't want to say leave this earth. I believe I'm gonna live forever and ever and a day, right? But the way how it was showed to me, and really literally by this time I'm so, now I'm like, no, I'm dating someone and whatnot. And so so my second, I'm sorry, my first boyfriend, he came back into my life, and I was asking him, because I was asking the one from here that I met here from Ghana. I said, do you have any dreams, a vision of leading and telling you what your next phase is going to look like, and what this is and what that is? And even my boyfriend from my hometown, they have no, I'm like, is Father dealing with you with anything? No, no, no. I said, did you have any dreams or vision? He's like, no, no, no. I said, well, and hey, and if we supposed to get together, it ain't time yet, I believe Father's going to show. So then what in that timeline, I came into this lineup about, which took me on a path to let me know that Father choose your husbands and your wives. And see, all before, I would choose them and ask Father to fix them. My boyfriends are my thing. I never let the Most High, other than my first boyfriend, when Father showed me him. And the way it happened, fam, I was 11 years old when I saw him. I saw him walking down my road, thinking that was real. It was an open vision that I saw. And 15, when I turned 15, I met him, and we became boyfriend and girlfriend instantly, like that same night. But that was the same person I saw in my open vision, and I was like, let him be my boyfriend. I was instantly attracted to him. I'm still attracted to him to this day in that lineup. So I don't know how it's going to fit. Father showed me two men, like in a waking vision, one after another, and I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know what that means. But fam, at the end of the day, what the point of them saying, Father chooses kings and queens. Father would choose your wife as a king, and Father would choose your husband as a queen. I just said all of that to say this. Yeah. So there are women, and I'm saying not on the level where you're saying of a royalty or whatever, but there are women who Father have shown them their husband. They're right around their husband, been around their husbands for years, don't even know it, and vice versa. Yeah. So that's why we must seek and we must know, right? Because the real deal is that your purpose on earth, whoever you with, is going to be a part of your purpose of you carrying out, and vice versa, right? So that's what I came to understand. But all my life, other than my first boyfriend, right? And I thought I chose him. But when it came back that it was an open vision, that I did not have no clue. But all the other guys, it's like I chose. Like, oh yeah, like, I didn't seek the Most High about. When I would get with them, date them, whatnot, I'm like, anything I see out of order, I'm like, Tata, fix it. Fix it. And fam, 9 times out of 10, Father don't fix it. When I tell you, no, yeah. And while I'm saying that, there's one that I dated that he was a part of, because it was 3, was the one from Ghana, the one from my first boyfriend, right, from my hometown, and then one that I dated living here where I live. And Father showed me, and I don't understand that still to this day, but Father allowed him only to be in, when I went into my seclusion, he would come and do certain things like fix stuff around the house, and whatnot. And he always, was just a a person, a giver, whatnot, of his time, and also just if you needed money, whatever. And he always recognized that I wasn't one of them ones that, try to take him for this, that, and other. But we dated seriously for 2 years, and then we not date that serious for 2 years. We just was hanging out. But he always tried to get back with, me in that regards. So he recently, within the last year or so, asked me to marry him. And I'm like, did the Most High give you any dreams, vision? Did the Most High show you anything? Like, no. Okay. But there was a time in that segment that I had 8 dreams about him. And I said that Father, the way it points out that Father could have been doing that to, like what we call it, marking us, like sense of humor, because I went to the Most High and I said, well, I'm seeing these videos about all these women and men who prayed and asked you who's who to them and what that means. Amen. And so I went to the Most High, and I remember that night I said, well, Father, reveal to me who you want me to be with, right? And so that night I had a dream about the one that I dated here for a while, that was from here where I live now. Not the one from Ghana, but the one that I dated back years back, almost 15 years ago. Okay, kind of, sort of. And so I had a dream about him that night. Just a dream of him being around me and my family. Then I had a dream about him the second night, the third night, the fourth night, the fifth night, now the sixth night, and then the seventh night I didn't have the dream. I had no dream about him. But then the very next night, which was the 8th night, I had a dream about him. I'm like, Father, what is this? Yes. So we talked about it, and he was like, well, okay. Well, that sounds, good, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, I'm just waiting for Father to give me further what to do. Is this what this is? Confirmation. Father never gave me confirmation to marry him. And the one from my hometown, I just told him, because there's something that he did, that he said something that had me to think one way, but it was another. It had me to just have with empathy for him. And I told him, I said, do not, because I already knew that there was no need for you to contact me every day talking about, can we see each other? Can we meet up? Can we, I'll come to you, because he's like 3 hours away. Every single day. And so I said to him, and it was a part that just like, okay, until the Most High says different, I said, you will know and I will know. But then there's something that he did, and I told him, do not ever call me again in this lifetime, not the next. And I meant that, right? Anyway, and he haven't called either, But the point of the matter is, I had a dream about him also, that we were in Africa. And how I noticed, because he came in and greeted the king. I don't know. I was sitting on the side, and the king was actually sitting in the front. I have a lot of dreams about kings and queens. I know I do, but this is what it is. So, at the king sitting in, we in this and like, he's on the throne, the king on the throne. And then I'm sitting with a lot of other people on the side. Now, I could have been one of the king's wives. I don't know. I don't know, right? But here he come, open the door, and as soon as he got to the door, he said, what is the name that they call the king? Is my king Iwe? I think it's Iwe. And that's my king. I think that's the way it goes. So when I look at him, and the first thing that came to me was, oh, he found me. Because Him and the one from here originally said that they would never go to Africa, because I was asking them all kind of questions trying to size them up. Well, because Father said I'm going to Africa, and he was one that said, him from my hometown and the one from here said, I will never go. So I said, well, you cannot be the one. Now the one from Ghana said, oh, I'm from there, and wherever you go to Congo, I will go wherever you go. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so when I saw him that came through the kings, to the, in the area, as soon as he opened the door, he said, "Anyway," and so he came, he walked right by me, and he went to go greet the king. And for you to get into an area where the king at, that's not the way it works. You understand? So so I knew it was Africa because of the setting and what he said, and he spoke in, and I even said in the dream, oh, he been here long enough to learn the language. So it's like our path is gonna cross down the road some kind of way. I don't know all the ins and outs. He could be watching me right now. Who knows? Whoever could be watching me. I don't know. All I'm doing is going by what the Most High says. Whoever the Most High says, and know that is going to be the better part or half of what my future holds for me to further out. What I need to carry further out, then so it will be. You understand? But yeah, we often want to choose our husbands and our wives. But I'm telling you, you need to go before the Most High, and you need to seek the matter out and allow the Most High to guide and lead you. Because I would have never, and even the one from Ghana say, oh, about marriage and all this stuff. But, fam, go before the Most High. Seek the matter out and don't make no moves. And I just knew that I'm a hopeless romantic, and I, like any women would be giddy or excited, just like a man would be excited about being around the opposite, lineup, sex. And just in this lineup, about, I want to say, maybe it's been 6 months, maybe 8 months. One day I just had it. I said, Father, what I'm supposed to do? I said, okay, you showed me this, you show me that. You imagine me talking to the Most High like this and this. This is I'm having a conversation with Tata. I was like, I've had it. I said, I can't take this no more. I said, what I'm supposed to do? I was just been out of shape. I was crying before the Most High, because early on when I was younger, and a girlfriend reminded me, she said, darling, you was someone, you said that why there couldn't been one man. Well, anyway, what we would call your soulmate or whatnot. Why that person, because I said why that person just can't have eyes for me and I have eyes for that person. That's it. That you will know that that's the person you're supposed to be with. And I would go to Tata all the time and say, Father, all these billions of people on this earth, not one person for me, not one. So, okay. So anyway, as it, like I said, I went before the Most High, and I was crying out. And then I went to sleep. When I went to sleep, and then I went into awakened vision. And that was one of the reasons I was taken up. I saw not saw myself. I felt my spirit like just going through the circles. Just keep going, the circles. As soon as I go through this circle, I'll go through another circle, go through another circle, go through another circle. And then I was now right before. Was that the time? No, this time when I awakened and was conscious, I was already there. I'm taking that back. And whoever Father had chosen for me was right beside me. And we were right before the Most High. And I don't remember how he looked. I just felt his presence. But we were right before the Most High. And so when I, when the vision ended, when I, opened my eyes, fam, all that issue I had about when, and how this gonna happen and da 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 da. That moment took me, that space that Father took me, brought me forth before our Creator with the person. I had no more questions. I was a different whole person. That day, the next day, the next up to this day, and I still say, from time to time I have little, moments here there, but that just like you would think that, oh my goodness, my answer was there. Where Father allowed me to come into that space, and what I said. So then, when I came from that area, that's when I was coming back down. So you go up and you go through these circles, right? And it's like you go like a speed of lightning, but the circle's open, and you just going through like Superman, if somebody would have called it. Then you come back down. It's amazing, fam. So that was one of the times Father allowed me to come up, and I was having a bad day. I was like, I don't understand why this, why that, why this, why this. And I remember just after I went to sleep, and a lot of times when Father revealed things to me, is like it's attached, the awakened vision. That's what awakened visions are. I'm awake, but my eyelids are closed, and I could see things play out, right? And then I can be taken places as well, and shown things, or either I can just see through the earth and just see stuff. But there are times Father just take me to certain areas, but to go up to that highest level, what you said, the Most High, that's all I can say, fam. And that's basically it, fam. I'm gonna close out, but just to give anyone any insights, trust in the Most High, wait on the Most High. Don't take it for what you know it, because that's all you know. You know, you wanna trust and wait on the Most High for what is what. And I can truly say, of course, as human being, you will have your moments that you're like, what? But the most part of it, I get it. I get it now. I'm supposed to be before the Most High, secluded, and I'm supposed to have no interference at all. And all those three men, they would have interfered with my lineup. And especially if they wasn't appointed to be in my lineup as I go through this, so this timeline I'm supposed to be. So my first boyfriend, what I said to him was, I told him about the dream that I saw him in a dream where he was in Africa when he said he would never go, right? I saw him in a dream, and I just told him, you know, it's been almost, I want to say, a year since we talked, right? So, yeah, it's been almost a year. So, I don't know if he's experiencing any things at this point where he's having dreams, a vision, of visitations. Because I've been asking. I said, you sure in your dreams? No. The Most High ain't tell you nothing. No words, no nothing, no. I said, okay then. Well, that's that. What do you mean that's that? I'm like, but I know Jesus. They ain't got nothing to do with that. And no, wait for the Most High to give you directions. And that's for men and women, All praises to the Most High. I know I got off track a bit, but when I share things, someone needs to hear it. Okay. Take care, fam. Matando and Geta. Exceptionally special court. Blessings to you. Okay. Peace, Queen. Oh, thank you. Say hi. I don't know if you're still on or not. Take care, fam. Love you all. Matando and Geta. Thumbs in.